Hi everyone, Susumi here. I'm going to try a Foldit monomer design, and let me just go tell the Foldit chat that I'm live, and you can admire this lovely diagram of the Rossmann 2x2 fold that I'm going to work on. See if we can bring in anyone from Global tonight. Okay, so we had some conversation earlier tonight in Vet Chat about whether a Rossmann 2x2 could be done in a Foldit monomer design puzzle. Foldit has all these filters that you have to satisfy, and the Rossmann has some particular challenges to it. So I'm going to try that tonight. This diagram right here is from the Grishin lab at University of Texas Southwest. Let me actually go grab that link and throw it in the chat. Where's that? Here we go. There we go. So if you have a Twitch account, you can chat in the Twitch chat. If you are watching without a Twitch account, you can toss some questions out in the Foldit chat, and I'll try and pick those up from there. Okay, oh, and that link I threw out is for this particular diagram, which is the Rossmann 2x2. But if you go to that website, they have diagrams of a few other interesting folds, some of which can be made in Foldit design puzzles. So that's a fun one to look at. Okay, so let me talk about what the structure of this fold is. It starts at the end terminal. Terminus, I don't know. Segment 1 is right here. It starts with a sheet going up. Helix comes down in the front, and another sheet goes up. You'll notice all of these sheets point up. They're parallel sheets. They're all pointing in the same direction. That's a hallmark of the Rossmann fold. Although I was reading today on Wikipedia, and they said mostly parallel sheets. So maybe you can have a Rossmann with one or, a small number of anti-parallel. But we're going to do all parallel tonight. Okay, so it went sheet, helix, sheet. Then the next helix is on the back, which means the loop has to go in the other direction. That's one of the challenges of this fold. So the helix goes down in the back, another sheet going up, helix down in the back, sheet goes up, and then the final helix on this one comes down in the front. And it's called a 2x2 because there's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. If you had 3 in the front and 1 in the back, it would be a Rossmann 3x1. So it seems fairly simple. Now, the problem that I anticipated with this fold is that Foldit has a filter on its monomer design puzzles that says no more than 50% of the residues of the amino acids can be helix. So you have to make at least half of your fold either sheets or loops. And in this fold, if you've got 4 helixes, let's say you made them 14 residues each, that would be 56 helix residues. So you would have to have at least 56 sheet and loop residues to balance that out, or else you would get dinged on the secondary structure filter. And with just 4 sheets here, if say they're 7 segments long each, that's 28. And you add the loops into that, it doesn't come out to 56. So in order to make this work with the secondary structure filter, I'm going to toss in an extra sheet that's not in the diagram that I'm working from. I could attach it to the end terminal and put it either here or there, either side of that sheet, but then it would be, the one that I add would be pointing down so that it could connect here, which would kind of disrupt the flow of this protein, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to attach the sheet to the C terminal here. It's going to be that very end of the protein. And again, I have a choice. I could put it up through the middle here, I could put it between these, or I could put it between these. The Wikipedia article I was looking at today said that this first set of 3 things, sheet, helix, sheet, is the most conserved, that is the least changing across different proteins in the Rossmann fold. So I don't want to disrupt that by putting a sheet in between. So I'm just going to put the extra sheet right here in the middle. And I made a little diagram of my own. I usually have a little ugly pencil sketch. Let me find that for you. Please don't scream, I know it's ugly. Okay, so this is my Rossmann plan. And let me decode this a little bit for you. So I'm going to start right here with residue 1. Sheet's going to go up. Helix comes down in the front. That's this slanty line. Second sheet goes up. The next helix goes down in the back. You can tell which ones are in the front because they slope from northwest to southeast, and the ones in the back go from northeast to southwest. Okay, so the second helix comes down, sheet goes up, third helix is down, again in the back because of the way it's slanting. Sheet comes up, and this helix is on the front because of the way it's slanting. And this diagram to the left would end right there, but I'm adding this fifth sheet on right here. Okay, and I decided I'm going to use my two favorite ideal loops for Foldit design puzzles, which are the green, blue, blue, and the green, blue, red. You'll see those when I get to the Foldit. I know we're not looking at Foldit yet. It's going to be boring for some people, but I do like to plan things out beforehand. So all of my loops are going to be 3 residues long. They're going to be either green, blue, blue, or green, blue, red. And both of those loops require that the helix be on the opposite side from the end side chain in the sheet. So let's look at this first sheet. Up here, that helix is on the front of the protein. It's closer to me than the sheets. And so the side chain, the last side chain of the sheet, is going to have to be on the back of the protein. It's facing away from me, that side chain. And so I put an X there for a side chain facing away. And because this helix is on the front, at the other end too, the side chain that's closest to it in that next sheet has to face away. The next helix is going to be on the back, which means that this side chain has to be on the front because of the loops that I've picked out. So I have X's for side chains facing away and O's for side chains facing towards me. Again, the helix is on the back, so this side chain has to be on the front, facing towards me. Next helix is on the back. Again, this side chain's on the front. This side chain's on the front. This helix is going to be on the front of the protein. It's going to be closest to me, which means this side chain has to face away. So I've got an X there. And again, this side chain has to face away. So that's what the X's and O's are. It just shows me which way the side chains are facing. Now, that means, so looking at these first 2 sheets here, I've got an X on one and an O on the other, which means these 2 side chains are pointing in different directions. So these 2 amino acids cannot hydrogen bond to each other. They can't line up even in the sheets. This sheet is going to have to be either a little bit longer or a little bit shorter than the one next to it. If I make it longer, then this side chain won't have anybody to bond to on this side. It won't have anyone on this side because it'll be longer, and there isn't another sheet on this side, so that's not going to work. This side chain of this sheet, or this amino acid of this sheet, has to hydrogen bond on one side or the other to another sheet. Otherwise, I'll get a ding on the ideal loop filter. So I decided to make this amino acid hydrogen bond to the second one in this sheet. That's what that line is. That's showing me that this one and this one are going to line up when I build it. So this sheet is going to be a little bit shorter than that one at the top. Okay, since this one is longer, it sticks up past the top of this one. It's not going to bond over here. It has to have somebody to bond to over here. So I decided that this sheet in the middle was going to end with a side chain facing away, and it's going to line up in length with this second sheet. Okay, the next one at the top, I've got an O. So again, this O can't hydrogen bond to this X. They're pointing in opposite directions. So this sheet's going to have to be either a little longer or a little shorter than this one. And we'll leave that question open for just a moment and look further along. This one also has a mismatch, an X on one and O on the other, so they can't hydrogen bond to each other. This sheet has to be either longer or shorter than the one next to it. I can't make it longer because it doesn't have anyone to bond to on the other side, so this sheet has to be shorter than the one next to it. It's going to bond to the second amino acid in this sheet, which means this one in turn has to be shorter than the one next to it. Okay, so these are going to be the tallest sheets at the top. The ones on either side are going to be a little bit shorter, and the one on the left is going to be shorter still at the top. Down at the bottom, I had this one's an X, that one's an X, so I arbitrarily decided that this one would be an X2, and they would all line up evenly. These two are both O's, so these two have to be either a little, they can be the same length as each other on the bottom, but they have to be either longer or shorter than this trio here. And since things are getting shorter up here, I decided to make them longer down at the bottom. So this X is going to bond to these guys that are at the ends of their sheets, and these two are going to stick down a little bit further. Okay, that's what all the X's and O's and hydrogen bonds are about. I started out thinking, oh, maybe these longest ones could be 9 residues long. I penciled that in, and it turned out to be too many. So I settled on 7. I know it's an odd number because I have an X at the bottom and an X at the top. So the bottom and top side chains are facing the same way. It's going to be an odd number of amino acids. So I've got 7 for the middle one. Second one is the same length, 7. This one to the right is 1 shorter at the top, and it matches at the bottom, so it's going to be 6. And this one, this sheet is shorter at the top, but it's longer at the bottom. And it's an odd number. It's got O's both at top and bottom. So this one is also 7. And then this one is 1 shorter than that, so it's 6. So I've got 6, 7, 7, 7, 6, going from left to right for my sheet lengths. You add those up, you get 33 residues in the sheet. Remember, the count is important because I have to have no more than half of my total be helix. Okay, I've got 9 structures. I've got 5 sheets and 4 helixes. That means I'm going to have 8 loops connecting them. And I said I was going to use all 3 residue loops. So 8 times 3, I'm going to have 24 in the loops. And then I come to the question of how long are the helixes going to be? There's some information about this in the second ideal design paper. So I was telling you about the second ideal design paper has some lengths in it in the supplemental info. There's a graph in there of how long your helixes should be based on how long your sheets are and which loops you choose. So again, I chose the green, blue, blue, and the green, blue, red loops. And based on that, if my sheets are 7 long, then a helix would be either 14 or 15. And this helix is covering 7 residues of length in the sheets, and it just has to go next door in terms of covering the width. So I chose the shorter length, which is 14. For this next helix, it's also covering 7 residues of sheet. The sheet length it's covering is 7, but it has to cross over 2 sheets in the middle to get to its destination. So for that one, I chose 15, which is the longer length of the 2 that are recommended. For the third one, I'm covering 7, but I'm only going next door, so I chose the shorter length, which is 14. If these 14s don't work out well, I could bump them up to 15 when I'm doing the design. And for this last one, remember this sheet is shorter than its neighbor, and this sheet is shorter than its neighbor. So this last helix is only covering 5 residues of sheet. That is, the length of sheet that it has to cover is only 5. And for that, 11 is the most common length, given the loops that I chose. If you choose different loops, you may need different lengths. One thing I like about these particular loops, the green, blue, blue, and the green, blue, red, is that they allow the helixes to be somewhat shorter than they might otherwise be. Now, you may not want to plan out your stuff. You certainly don't have to draw an ugly diagram like mine. You can, in theory, discover all of this information just by working with the puzzle in Foldit. But I like to plan things out, and I like to read about things, so that's just my approach. Okay, let's finally open the game. I'm starting from an extended chain. Greg says I'm on again. Great, thank you. Okay, so this is an extended chain. Right now it's 95 residues long. Oh, let's see, I didn't quite finish talking about my ugly sketch. I added up the helixes, they came to 54. My total residues are going to be 111. and 54 is less than half of that total. So that should work out okay. Again, I said I could lengthen these 14s if I wanted to, or if I have trouble with the 11, I could bump it up to 14. 12 is not a good number, but 14 is a good number for that. But I have to be careful that this doesn't go over 50% of that total. Okay, I'm going to start with 7 of sheet, then my ideal loop, 14 of helix, another ideal loop, and 6 of sheet. I always first change everything to sheet. So I Control A to select everything. LJ is the hotkey combination for making everything a sheet, and then 5 is the hotkey for ideal SS. So I do ideal SS sheet shape on the whole protein when I start, then I don't have to remember to do it later. That's just easier for me. Okay, I said I was going to start with 7, and let's open up the blueprint tool. Set that down here. Okay, 7. Oh, I can just look in here. There's numbers. So that is residue 8. I'm going to, let's see, when I highlight here, so I thought I would work in rainbow view, but it's hard for me to see what's highlighted. So I'm giving up on rainbow already. I'm going to go to my usual, which is hydro. Yeah, that makes it really easy to see what's highlighted. Okay, so I'm going to change this guy to loop just to mark it for myself. That's going to be the first residue in my ideal loop. And let's see, there's going to be 3 of loop, I said. All my loops are going to be 3, and then I'm going to have 14 of helix. So let me curl up that helix. Let's see, 8. I think that's 14. LK turns it to helix, and 5 is ideal SS. And while I have it highlighted, I'm just going to mutate it to all leucine. I leave my sheets on isoleucine. I change all my helixes to leucine, because helixes don't really like isoleucine, or vice versa. Okay, and then my loop's going to go right there. So this is going to be a sheet to helix loop. Let me pull up that list. I've got 3 choices, and I said I was going to use my favorite, which is green, blue, blue. Okay, and then for the loops, isoleucine doesn't like to be green, so I want to change this before I wiggle anything. I'm going to make it a glycine. And inward facing on this loop, I almost always end up with alanine, so I'm just going to put that into start. And aspartate is a very common one for the 3rd residue of this loop. In that second ideal design paper, again, the first author is Lin. Lin and Koga are the first 2 authors. They tell you for each of the ideal loops, not all the ones that are in Foldit, but some of the ones that are in Foldit, they have a graph showing you what are the most common amino acids for those loops. So I like to use those as well as the lengths. Okay, then I'm going to have 3 more residues of loop after the helix. Let me just, well, if I could work my keyboard. Okay, that one's going to be loop, and this is going to be a helix to sheet loop. Pull that up. Several choices here. I'm going to use one of my favorites, which is green, blue, red. My other favorite is green, blue. But with green, blue, your helixes need to be a little longer, because see how the helix is longer than the sheet there? With the green, blue, red, they end pretty close together in length, so you can have a shorter helix. Okay, green, blue, red, I'm going to drop it on the loops here. And I'm going to change the green to glycine. On this one too, the inward facing, see how this one faces in between the helix and the loop? That one's going to be a hidden side chain in the final protein, so I want it to be orange, and I usually end up with alanine on that one, and aspartate for the 3rd one as well. So I use the same side chains, GAD, for both the green, blue, blue and the green, blue, red loop. And again, I like to put those amino acids in before I do any wiggling. So I put them in now so I don't forget. Obviously I have a problem with forgetting because I have all these things that I do so that I don't forget. Okay, so these sheets are crossing right now. I'm going to go ahead and uncross them, I think. Okay, so to do that I'm going to use the Rossmann map because it lets me move things just a little bit from the ideal loop shape. Okay, I'm going to use that middle amino acid. I don't know which way I need to move it. I'm going to grab its dot here in the Rossmann map and just see which way it works. That doesn't seem any better. That's worse. This is getting better. Trying to uncross those sheets. So this is getting better, but I'm going pretty far to the side in the blue area of the map. I guess that's good. And thinking back to my little ugly sketch, these two sheets are going to be right next to each other. They're going to be bonded to each other. So here's a couple of bonds to start with. So that worked out well. Let me see if I can turn this so it's facing the same way as the diagram. So that's kind of how it looks in the... No, I think that's upside down. Let me try that again. Okay, this is how it looks in the diagram. The first sheet goes up, the helix comes down, and the second sheet goes up to the right of it. Okay. And I said this second sheet was going to be 6 residues long. It's going to be a little shorter than its neighbor. So its loop is going to start here and be 3 residues long, and then I'm going to have another helix. And I said this helix was going to be 15 because it's just got further to travel. Okay, and while I have the helix highlighted, I'm going to change it all to leucine. And my loop is going to be a sheet to helix loop. And if all goes well, this helix will end up on the opposite side of these sheets from the first helix. Remember, the first one's going to be on the front. Second one's supposed to end up on the back. So let me make this bigger. Where the first helix, where the first loop connects to the sheet, that side chain points away from me. This side chain is pointing towards me, and that's what's going to allow me to have a loop that goes off in the other direction. Okay, again, this is sheet to helix, and I'm going to use my favorite green, blue, blue. And of course, it moved everything. There we go. The helixes are on opposite sides of the sheets, which is what I wanted. Okay. And we're going to have 3 of loop again. This is going to be a helix to sheet loop. I'm using green, blue, blue. Oh, I forgot to change the aminos on the... no, this is the one. No, sorry, I'm a little confused. Okay, this is the loop that I created a moment ago. I'm going to change the amino acids to my favorites, G, A, D. Okay. Now, this is the new loop I'm about to create, helix to sheet. I'm going to use the green, blue, red. Green, blue, red is very common when your sheets are parallel. It's less common when your sheets are anti-parallel, although it seems to work pretty well in Foldit. The green, blue is more common when your sheets are parallel. And then these guys down here I only use when I have a special need in terms of where I'm trying to put the helix. Mostly I use these 2 up here. Okay, let me change the aminos. Green to glycine, alanine, and aspartate. D is aspartate. There's no D in aspartate, but that's how it works. Okay, so these sheets don't look like they're going to want to line up. So I'm going to move things around a little bit. Again, I'm going to grab the middle of this loop and just see which way can I move it to make things a little better. That's worse. That's a little better. Okay, so yeah, I think I want to do a little more of that. Not on that one though, maybe this one. Not doing quite what I want. Okay, I don't want these guys to be right next to each other. There's supposed to be room for 2 sheets in between, but I kind of want them both, you know, I don't want the helix to be right in between them. I want them both off to the side there. Okay, this sheet, I need to consult my diagram. So this is the long helix. This is going to be the next, second from the left sheet, and it's going to be also 7 residues long. And then the next helix is going to be 14. Okay, 7 for this sheet. Loops all 3. Makes it easier to remember. This is going to be a sheet to helix, so I need to make a helix. I said 14. 14. Curl it up and mutate to leucine. Okay, this helix is also going to be on the back where this one is. You remember this side chain faced, so let me turn. So right now the front of the whole thing is on the left, the back is on the right. So this one, the side chain faced left, which is front. This one that I'm about to do, again, the side chain faces left, so the helix is going to face right. The loop is going to turn right. Okay, this is a sheet to helix. Green, blue, blue, my fave. And hooray, the helix ended up on the right, which is the back. Okay. Next loop is 3. So this is essentially speed folding, because I kind of planned out everything in advance. I'm not having to wrestle with anything yet, like, oh no, this sheet is too long. So that, you know, this is just one approach. It's perfectly fine to take the wait and see approach and, you know, wrestle it with the problems as they come up. Okay, let's see, I want to change these amino acids. GAD. And then my next loop is going to be a helix to sheet loop. Oops, can't see it yet on the blueprint. Here we go. Okay, and that puts the helix, you know, vaguely in the plane, not the helix, the sheet. It puts the sheet vaguely in the plane of sheets that I'm working on. And it is on the right side of this one, but they are crossing. I don't want that. You remember I had that problem before. Last time I made a helix that was 14 residues long, you remember I ended up with the sheets clashing because I used the same ideal loops. And I think the way I addressed that was I'm moving this guy to the right. And that gives me 2 bonds there, so that's not too bad. Okay, these are still isoleucine, that's not what I want. Change those to GAD. So this is, you know, an area where, because I have favorites, I've just kind of learned what I usually put in there and I have it memorized and it just makes it a little quicker for me. Okay, now this sheet's going to be shorter. It's going to be 6. Because I want the next helix to be on the other side from this one. So I had to make the sheets not line up at the top. Okay, this is, let's see, I have to make the helix. And I think I said this helix was going to be 11 long. Okay, I'm running out of residues. My total is going to be 111, and this is an extra large monomer, so I'm allowed to go up to as many as 120. So I'm going to go ahead and add some in here. Let's see, I'm starting from 95, so I'm going to have to add 16 total. That's 15, and one more makes 16. Okay, and since these are new, I'm going to ideal SS them, just like I did with the whole thing at the beginning. The new ones come in as alanine. I don't want to leave them as that. I'm going to change them all to isoleucine for starters, so they're the same as new ones that came with the puzzle. Okay, I think I said 11 for the helix. That's 11. That means this is the first loop. This is the helix. Whoops. Curl it up and change to leucine. Okay, this loop, again, we want this helix to fall away from that helix on the other side. And this side chain is pointing, the side chain's pointing left because I want the helix to fall on the right. Okay, this is thirsty work. Okay, this is a sheet to helix loop. Where is it? Right here. Green, blue, blue. That does put the helix on the other side, hooray. Stick my usual aminos in there, GAD. And obviously mutate is going to change those if it finds better scoring ones. That's just a nice one, a nice set to start with when I'm doing the first wiggles. Okay, this helix is kind of leaning into the space in the middle that I want my sheets to be in, so I'm going to try and rotate him out a little bit. I'm going to use this up here as my axis and try to rotate this helix a little bit counterclockwise, like the hand of a clock, counterclockwise. Okay. And it's just trial and error. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay. And then my final loop is going to be a helix to sheet loop. Green, blue, red. In a perfect world. Oh! Oh my goodness, it fell right in the middle between this pair and that pair, which is exactly where I want it. Things don't always work out that nicely. Okay, this is probably a little small for you guys. Okay. Now, I said that so this is now turned like my diagram. There's my diagram, yep. I said that the left two sheets were going to be longer on the bottom, and the right three were going to be a little higher on the bottom. So that means this guy will not have a neighbor on that middle sheet. This one, let me turn off these side chains for a moment. This one on the middle sheet is going to bond to that one on the left. But these three are all the same length, so this one's going to bond to this one, and this one to that one. Okay, so do I want to try and fix these before I wiggle them, or do I just want the rubber bands to do the work? We're going to try the rubber band approach. Normally I would, use the Rama map and adjust things and make the whole sheet thing prettier before I wiggle, but I'm going to try not doing that this time. I do want to save. I think this is my 4th solo, and this is my first arrangement. Okay, that's pretty slow. So, well, I could sing and dance, I guess, while we wait for the save to happen. We could talk amongst ourselves. So, how's the evening going for everyone? Do we have anyone here for whom this is not evening? That would be cool. Somebody from the other side of the world. For me, it's actually 12:21, so it's actually now early morning. Socrates, hey, I'm so glad to see you. I haven't seen you in my stream for a while. Okay, I haven't streamed much lately, so that would explain that. So I'm working on the Rossmann 2x2. We were talking in vet chat earlier today about whether a Rossmann 2x2 was possible in a Foldit monomer design. And let me pull up the pretty picture of that. This is the pretty picture of the Rossmann 2x2. I said that I was going to have more sheet segments to balance out the helix segments, so I've actually added a 5th sheet right in the middle here coming off of this helix. And this is what it looks like. It's not as pretty yet as the diagram, but I'm going to use some rubber bands and pull it together. Okay, these two, I said that the one on the end was going to be shorter at the top, so the top of the right-hand one is going to bond to the second one here. And let me go ahead and fill in some more bands. I like to use a lot of rubber bands. Wouldn't it be nice if you could use the arrow keys for fine-grained control of the Rama map? That's a really good idea. Yeah, I have to make the Rama map pretty huge in order to be able to do fine movements with my mouse. So having some other mechanic for fine movements is a really good idea. Okay, these two sheets, I said that the tops of them would be even. So we'll rubber band them like that. And I believe the bottoms of them are also going to be even. Okay, those rubber bands look pretty ugly, but I think they're right. Okay, over here, let's see, that's the one on the end. This is the one not quite on the end. I said this one was going to be a little bit shorter at the top. So it's going to bond like this. And you can see the ones I'm rubber banding the zigs to the zigs and the zags to the zags, which is the same as saying I'm rubber banding side chains that face towards me together, and I'm rubber banding side chains facing away from me together. And I'm ending up with different lengths at the top and bottom because of the way that I wanted the ideal loops to turn. So Sock, this is actually a speed fold. I don't have a timer running, but I had everything planned out in advance, and I'm just throwing it together. Okay, let's see, I never changed these aminos on this last loop. I'll make them the same as all the other ones, GAD. There we go. Okay, did I change everything? My helixes are L. My loops are all GAD. Looking good. Okay, let's do a quick save. And I'm at minus 200,000. So I'm going to put the clashing importance way low. I like 5%. And we're going to shake. Have a little tea while that happens. Sock says, yeah, I'd totally be down to make that myself in the controls. If the controls were easier to wrestle. Yeah, the controls are hard. That's just the truth. Sock wonders if he could use Joy to Key to hook up a gamepad to certain keys and mouse movements and make things easier. Gamepad. Not being an actual gamer myself, that wouldn't work for me, but if you can make it work, that would be really cool. I'm a gamer only insofar as I play Foldit. Okay, that's enough shaking. And now we're at minus 100,000. That's pretty cool. We're going to keep the clashing importance really low, and we'll just see if this thing pulls together. We'll see if we get some nice hydrogen bonds between the sheets. Here goes the wiggle. I should have set recent best before I did that. Oh well, it'll be good. Now, one downside of the loops that I like the best, the green, blue, blue, and the green, blue, red, is that in these odd length sheets, you end up with 4 facing away from the helix and 3 facing towards the helix. So if your helixes are all on one side of the sheet, you end up with kind of a, more than half the sheet things are exposed on the outside, and so you can run into a core filter problem. But since I've got helixes on both sides of the sheet here, I don't think I'm going to have trouble with the core filter. I hope. Fingers crossed. Knock wood. My wood that I can knock. I don't know why this is on my desk. A block from my son's set of blocks. My sons are a little old to play with blocks, but for some reason there's one on my desk. Okay, I've got some hydrogen bonds between each pair of sheets. I don't have as many as I want. The sheets are making a nice fan shape. I love it when they do that. They do that in nature. So when I see it in Foldit, it makes me happy. This guy's not fanning as much as the neighbors. So that tempers my happiness. It would take a lot of time and effort, I guess, to do the gamepad programming thing. Time that could be spent playing other games. What other games? But you do get the itch to tinker. There's a bunch of things you can do with blocks of wood. That's true. Not least of which includes knocking. There you go. For luck. Okay, I'm up. I'm still negative, but I'm like within 10,000 of 0, so I'm going to bump the clashing importance up. I like to work at 20%. In the early part of the puzzle, because it lets things be in not quite as good a position and still, not clash too much. That was kind of a lame explanation, but that's what I've got for you. Okay, so I've got hydrogen bonds most everywhere. Score is still climbing. And another thing I like to see is that the helixes are not parallel because the sheets are fanning. They're kind of, the one on the back is slanted one way and the one on the front slanted the other way. The helixes are doing the same thing. On both sides of the sheet, I've got helixes going in somewhat skew directions. I like to see that. Call of Duty, yeah. What do you mean? What other games? I just come from a different world. Actually, Call of Duty is a rarely sometimes food, a guilty pleasure game for Socrates. You're more of a Nintendo and PC indie enthusiast. Choices. So, Sock, I have to ask you, when there's a lot of chat, is it still good for me to read out the chat? I mean, some people are going to be watching this. If they're watching it as a Twitch video, they'll see the chat, I think. But if they see it later on YouTube, they won't see the chat. 2017 has been the year of drowning in good new games for you. Cool. That's good, except that you're also in college, so there's this homework thing going on. So, some good and some bad, I'm guessing. Speaking of homework, it's 12:30 at night, and my oldest, who is a senior in high school, is still up. And last time I checked, his homework was not done. He's 18, so I try to let him make his own choices. Sleep is often not high on his list. Okay, when am I going to stop this wiggle? I'm kind of bored waiting for it, but it's still moving a lot. The score is. This is a slow puzzle because it's so big. I could have turned off some of the filters, I guess. So how do my filters look, by the way? Core existence filter, I have the bonus. That means I already have enough hidden sidechains. Secondary structure is okay because I made sure not to have more than half of my residues be helix. And residue count, I've got a big penalty because I'm 16 over, but that's okay. I knew that would happen. And ideal loops, look at that. No penalty on the ideal loops. Well, I've still got the constraints on, so yeah, that's normal. Okay. These rectangles, some people don't know this, are constraints that try to hold those residues in the ideal loop shape, and they also limit the degree to which your protein can move freely, so they limit your score, so it's good to get rid of them at some point. The awesome folders who have told me what they do with them get rid of them really early, like maybe even before they wiggle their first wiggle. I usually do it a little later than that, but I try not to do it lots later. Okay, I'm really tired of waiting for this wiggle, so that's enough. And recent best 6,700. Save that. And that was my first wiggle. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Usually I freeze the helixes and sheets before the first wiggle. I forgot to do that this time. Oh well. They seem to have survived. They don't look, the sheets don't look bent out of shape badly. So normally I would like freeze this guy, except I would unfreeze the end ones that are adjacent to the loops. And I do the same with the sheets. And then do my first wiggle, and then my second wiggle, I would unfreeze everything. But oh well, that's okay. Okay, this is as far as I usually go in my streams. How long have I been doing this, by the way? Where's my Twitch thing? I don't know what time I started. Looks like I'm at 37 minutes. I think that's what that number down there means. Constraints also make your score bounce around like it is. Oh, I didn't realize that. That's interesting to know. Thanks, Greg. Sock says he's got to do more of these large puzzles if he can help it with your more powerful machine running. You have no excuses, that's right, to not showcase them performance-wise. That's right. Yeah, this is my new laptop that I got in August, and I'm so happy that it's faster than my old one. So let's see. Actually, I'm going to jot down, I keep notes. You know, I keep a little notebook with sketches in it, and I keep notes on what I do. So printed word oriented, I guess. Okay, so my first wiggle was unfrozen, and I got, what, 67, 64. Okay, I'm going to, since I'm working at 20%, I'm going to actually weaken the bands, although I got good hydrogen bonding. Usually full-strength bands are a little too strong for 20% clashing importance. Where is it? Band strength, 0.5. Okay. And I guess I'll just do another shake and wiggle. Then I'm ready to mutate. So I'm done with building blocks. Oh, before I wiggle, I do want to take those constraints off. But we'll just see what we get out of a second wiggle, since I normally do 2 before I mutate. I don't think this is going to go a lot higher, though. So what did I get on my good track? Interesting. So before I mutated my good track, I only had 5,800, so I'm well ahead of that already on this one. I don't mean to say this is a bad track, but I just mean I have one that's scoring better than the others. My second and third tracks are kind of experimental. The third, okay, is a failed experiment. The second one is kind of stuck right now. I'm not sure what to do next with it. Okay, that's enough shaking. Let's get rid of these constraints. Just drag them off of there. So my conclusion is, yes, the Rossmann 2x2 fold can be done in Foldit. And let's just wiggle again. See what happens. So Greg says the constraints make the score jump around, so maybe this will be less random up here. I think I'm done with Rama map too. I think I'm done with blueprint. Cool. So normally it takes me much longer to get everything put together, and then I, end the stream after the first wiggle and leave the rest up to the viewer. So I'm going to probably just run mutate on this and, get it ready for a first script and then call it a night. This is interesting. I've got 2 bonds right there. That could potentially mess up my ideal loop, because the ideal loops depend on bonds. I'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't know what to do about it, but I'll keep an eye on it. Okay, what's happening? We're wiggling, and it's just still really slow. So one way you can speed up the wiggles on these big puzzles with filters, so I turned off the side chains. That helps. And then some of these filters I don't really need on. Residue IE score is about the big ring side chains, and I don't have any of those in here yet, so I could turn that off during the wiggle. It's not important. I want to keep core existence on. My secondary structure is not going to change. Oh, actually it might. Yeah, if the bonding changes, that could change. So I'm going to leave that one on. SS design is, are the amino acids allowed in the structures you have them in? So like if you have a glycine and then you put it in the middle of a sheet, that's not allowed, so you would get a ding on that one. And I seem to have a penalty there. Why is that? What is this? It's a glycine, but it doesn't like it. So glycine is allowed in loops. Sometimes Foldit thinks that your loop is actually part of your helix. Let me turn on, well, I have sidechain bonds on. Let me turn on helix bonds. So this one, I don't know, is that hydrogen bond part of this? Is it attached to this glycine? I can't tell. It's good when your loop has a bond to your helix, because otherwise your helix has an unbonded atom right there. It's called helix capping when the loop finishes off the helix bonding. But sometimes when you have a bond there, Foldit says, oh, this must be part of the helix, even though you look in the Rama map. Well, I can't highlight it right now because it's wiggling. Oh, it's on 600 iterations. Maybe we could stop. So this guy's clearly in the green. He's not helix. Helix is red. And yet Foldit says, oh, you can't have a glycine here because it's part of a helix. I hate that. Now I do notice that this helix is bent, which kind of makes me sad. The other ones look straight. This is the little short one. I said it had to be, I said it could be only 11 because it only had to cover 5 residues of sheet length. Let me get rid of this. But it's kind of bent. It doesn't look like it's stretched though. If it were stretched, I would say, oh, it's too short, I'll make it longer. It's not really stretched, it's just bent. So I'm going to rubber band it to help it stay straight. So to band a helix, you band each residue to the one that's 3 away and the one that's 4 away. And it ends up looking like the lacing on a drum, like a little drummer boy drum. Oops. And if I band part of the helix, I generally band the whole helix. Let's see, I need one more. Because otherwise the band, if you just put bands on part of the helix, they tend to pull it. The rest of the helix is likely to get wonky, so I put it on the whole thing. Oh, and that means also I need to do the band strength again, because I just want weak ones. Okay. Okay, so the next time I wiggle, those bands will help to straighten this helix, hopefully. That's my story. Okay, so that's 2 wiggles. Oh, I can't do restore recent best now because I put bands on. I would lose them. Okay, we'll just save here. Second wiggle. Put that in my little notes. And I took the constraints off. I have to put that in my notes because otherwise I forget. Okay, I can't tell you how many design puzzles I've gotten to the end of them. It's like the last day and I suddenly realize I never took my constraints off. That's why I'm scoring so badly. Okay, I think it's time to mutate. So I do my first mutate at 20% because why not? I usually do like a low clashing importance wiggle. That means it's allowed to put in side chains even if they're crowded. And then I do a shake and wiggle. I think I said wiggle a minute ago. I meant mutate. And then I do a high clashing importance mutate and a shake and wiggle. And then I do an even lower one, like 5%, shake and wiggle. And then I go back. By that time, I'm working at usually 50%. So let me think. I do low, high, low. No, then I do another high one, like 85% or higher, and a shake and wiggle. But my shake and wiggles are all at 50%. And then I run my first script at 50%. Get this out of the way. Am I going to record a follow-up stream or video after script refinements? Foldit has stopped working. I'm going to cry. Why is that happening? I'm used to the aflatoxin crashing. I'm not used to the design puzzle crashing. There, you can admire my ugly diagram while I restart the game. So am I going to do a follow-up? That's a good question. This puzzle ends tomorrow at like my supper time, so I don't think I'm even going to have time to run a full complement of scripts on it, although I could keep running them after the puzzle ends. I'll give that some thought. I don't always get to pick when I stream. A lot of times it depends on what my kids are doing. Oh. Yeah, maybe I'm going to hold off on that. This is taking a long time to start. Okay, extra large monomer design. No, I can't put it up there. Come on, fold it. So yeah, when it's evening and the kids need homework help, I don't get to stream, or when they need to practice their piano, which is in the same room, don't get to stream, or, you know, it goes like that. Okay, where is my current thing? Track 4. And that's why we freeze our secondary structures. Yeah, because my helix got bent in those first wiggles. There's got to be a script that automates the random low-high shake, wiggle, mutate process you described. It would be easy to write a script that would automate it. However, I don't really want it automated because after each of the mutates, I mess with the side chains by hand. I check that there are no hidden blue ones. If there are, I take them out. I check that the edge sheets have at least 2 oranges in them. So this crashed during the mutate. I can tell because it's only a little bit mutated. Okay, so I was working at 20%. I'm going to continue running that mutate. So I do handwork in between the mutates and the shake wiggles, so I don't want to automate it. But yes, it would be easy to write a script that would automate that. What am I doing? I'm going to do a quick save and then more mutate. So it's, especially when I'm at low clashing importance, it gets crowded between the sheets and the helixes. These particular loops, because they're 3 long, they do give a nice amount of space. When you use the loops that are only 2 long, then your helixes end up closer to your sheets and it gets crowded. So these loops give us some space, but at low clashing importance, it still gets crowded in there because when I wiggled it, it allowed the sheets and helixes to be closer together than they normally would be. And when it gets crowded, Foldit sticks serines in there, even though it's hidden, because serine is the smallest side chain that it's allowed to put on a sheet or helix. Actually, they're not allowed on the helixes in Foldit. Obviously, in nature they are. So it puts serines on the sheets, even in the middle of the protein where they're hidden, if it feels like it's too crowded in there. So I take those out. And on these inward-facing residues of the loops, I like to keep those orange. So if Foldit puts blue ones there, then I change them back, things like that. I'm getting a bunch of tyrosine, whatever that is, on the edge here. Sometimes it puts, like tyrosine has a bondable atom on the tip, and the one with 2 rings, the tryptophan, has a bondable atom on it, and sometimes Foldit puts those in the middle of the protein, and the bondable atoms are hidden, which is bad unless they're bonded to something. So I take those out. So yeah, I have a lot of disagreements with, well, maybe not a lot, several disagreements with Foldit about what should go where, and that's why I do hand fixing of the mutate before I shake and wiggle it. This one I think is going to work out well. I think I'm going to end up with a good selection of side chains. It used to be that alanines had a huge negative reference score, which is one of the subscores that goes into the score for the whole the whole amino acid. And so Foldit wouldn't ever put them in anywhere. And so if it was crowded and it wanted something small, it would put a serine. And in these loops, if a bigger orange wouldn't fit, it would put just some blue sticking out to the side, which, you know, is certainly technically possible, but the most common amino acids in these particular loops, the green, blue, blue, and the green, blue, red, the ideal loops that I chose, the most common middle side chain is an orange one. So I used to put the alanines in by hand every time. Now Foldit, the scientists decided they wanted more alanines in the loops, and they improved the reference score on them. What is it now? It's minus 3.9 now. It used to be like minus, I don't know, 10, minus 15 maybe. It was terrible. But now they do get chosen a lot for these inward-facing ones on the loops. Okay, how much have we done? 3 iterations. I'll let it go just a little longer. It's kind of taking a long time. So here we go. Here's a blue one that's kind of hidden. Oh, it's not completely hidden. Its bondable atom is exposed to water, so that might be okay. But I'm sure it chose that because it's small. It's a 3amine. I might put an orange there for now and later let it put a blue if it wants. My edge strands of my sheets are staying mostly orange, which makes me really happy. If you have an edge strand that doesn't have at least one orange in it, and preferably at least two, then it won't actually form a sheet. It won't bother to bond to its neighbor. It'll just flop around and be a loop. So they actually won't, if you've got an edge strand that's all blue side chains, they won't even bother to run that protein through Rosetta. They'll just discard it. Let's see. Sock wonders if mods could ever be a thing for Foldit. Modding culture for other games would tackle problems like those you're describing if the developers never did. I don't think they're ever going to let us do that because they're concerned that if they let players modify the game, the players will modify it in a way to take advantage of the scoring engine in ways that might not be scientifically valid. They're worried that the scientific accuracy will be decreased by letting players mess with the game. So I don't think they're ever going to go for that. Okay, I'm on my 4th iteration. That's enough. I'm tired of waiting. Even with my faster laptop, I get tired of waiting. Okay, so that was 20%. I'm going to go ahead up to 50% for my shake and wiggle. I'm going to hide the side chains. Oh, actually, I'm going to first just check them. Okay, the edge strands have oranges. That's good. The inward-facing segments of the loops all have oranges. That's good. And I don't have any hidden bondable atoms. I did say this guy I was going to maybe change to orange. I have a little script that'll just try the oranges on it and pick the best one. Probably end up as a valine. Valine is a little bit bigger than 3amine. So if it's crowded, it prefers the 3amine. Okay, good enough. Let's shake and wiggle. So turn off the side chains, and I'm going to turn off some filters. Let's see. I do have ring side chains now, so I want to keep residue IE on, keep core on, turn off secondary structure, turn off SS design, although I had a penalty there before. If that can change during the wiggle, I want to keep it on. I don't need this one on. And I'm going to keep that one on. Okay. Shake. Let's see. We do have, yeah, Greg says we do have the Lua interface, but it can't do everything. Can't override built-in functions like mutate. Sock says, yeah, modding opens the floodgates for better or worse. And Greg says some of the code is proprietary also. So, proprietary. Given that they're not a company, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Yeah, the code is not open. It's not open source. You can't see the code. Partly because they don't want people to game the system. They want people to, use the tools as they're intended. Some of the greatest games were born out of mods. I'm sure they were. It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, so there's not a lot of people who play Foldit. They don't get a lot of solutions on each puzzle. So I would guess that makes them reluctant to give up some percentage of those solutions to player mods that make things less accurate. If there were 10,000 people playing Foldit and you allowed mods and that made 2,000 of your solutions less scientifically accurate, and then the other 8,000 people didn't use the mods and so their stuff was accurate, maybe that would be okay. But, they get like 350 players on a puzzle. typically, so I wouldn't want to throw any of those away, personally. Okay, that's plenty of shaking. It's faster without the filters. Okay, I'm going to do a set recent best and wiggle now. So this should be faster with some of the filters turned off, in theory. So what did I get on my good track? After the first mutate and wiggle, I had 9,700. So we'll see if this beats that. So it'll be kind of a dilemma for me. If this turns out to be better than my best track, then I'm going to really want to run all the scripts that I can. There's only 17 hours left in the puzzle. So, but if it works out, you know, I can do this fold again on the next extra large monomer. Sock says, from a game health standpoint, modding scenes have arisen out of games with limited or very sporadic developer updates with varying degrees of purposes. Some of them are purely graphical or quality of life. Others are overhauls. Yeah, I hear you. There's plenty of quality of life issues that I would love for players to be allowed to work on without changing any of the scoring stuff. I'm hoping that some of Seth Cooper's graduate students at Northeastern will work on some of the quality of life stuff. We're seeing the first of it already. Josh put in, I think Josh put it in, the allowing rubber bands to go to strength 10 in the slider. So you don't have to use a script to set them to higher than strength 1.5. That's currently in the developer preview edition of Foldit, which is the one I'm running. Okay, I think that's maybe enough wiggling. Yeah, I think it is. So let me pull up the slider on this guy. Change band strength. So it goes up to 10 now. It used to stop at 1.5. So that's a quality of life issue that's been addressed. Hooray. People have been asking for that as long as I've been playing, which is a long time. And now it's in there. Okay, I need to turn my filters on to see what my score really is. Toggle conditions. Oh, they're not called filters anymore, they're called conditions. Okay, 99.69. So that's, yeah, 200 points better than my best track was at this point. Astonishing. So what did I do? Mutate at 0.2. I did one fix and wiggled at 0.5 and I got 99.69. Okay, so that was a low CI mutate. I'm going to do a high CI mutate. I don't know if mutate would run faster if I turned off some of the filters. I have no idea. I guess there's only one way to find out. I don't do restore recent best after the mutate, so I really don't need any of the filters on. Don't need any. Okay, let me pull that and then undo. That red line's the score because of the filters being off. You have to actually do something in order for the red line to kick in. Okay, so now this is my recent best if I set it, although I don't think I'm going to use it. I've got my CI and I'm ready to mutate. So let's see if mutate runs faster now with all the filters off. I don't know if it will. Okay, I keep bringing up my notes in front of the chat. That's not so good. Our boy Josh. Yes. Woo! Hope it goes to live soon. Yeah, it seems to be working, so it could go to live soon. Such a small but satisfying fix. I agree. Greg says, send our props to Josh. Josh, if you're watching, props to you. I think he was watching the other day. I'm not sure. Right now, there are 3 of us in here, so it's you 2 and me. But some people will watch it on the video later. And that's kind of why I made this stream, was so there would be a video of the Rossmann 2x2, since we had some controversy about that. Okay, I can't tell if Mutate's running faster. It's been over a minute and I'm still on the second iteration, so maybe not. On the other hand, maybe I just don't need to mutate all that much. So interesting, it put the blue back in here, but this time it put one here that could hydrogen bond with it. So that's kind of cool, I guess. So even if this blue one were technically hidden in the core, its bondable atom is bonded, so that makes it okay for it to be hidden. Having hidden unbonded bondables is bad, but bonded ones are good, or at least they're not bad. My edge strands are still staying orange enough. This one's down to 2 oranges. I want to keep an eye on that. Not let it go any lower. Okay, that's definitely enough mutate. And then I'm going to toggle the filters back on. Ooh, I'm over 10,000. It's over 9,000. Okay, let me just double check. So on my loops, I have oranges everywhere that I want them. On my edge strands, I have oranges. So it's interesting. I always take my the sequence of amino acids from my design and I run it through Cypred, which is a server that predicts secondary structure only. It doesn't predict the shape of the protein, it just predicts where you're going to have sheets and helixes. And if you have an edge strand that's all blue except for a couple of tyrosines or tyrosines, Cypred doesn't think that's going to be a sheet a lot of the time. So even though they're orange, Cypred, they're not enough by themselves to make it into a sheet, according to Cypred, which, you know, is an algorithm. It can be wrong. But this one's okay because it's got these other oranges on it. Okay, I was talking instead of shaking and wiggling. I was checking my side chains. That's what I was doing. Okay, now I'm going to shake. So where did I get to on my good track? I tend to always save after the same things so I can compare my, not in order to compare my scores, but it works out that I can compare my scores. So yeah, on my good track I only got up to 9,900 at this point. And I'm past that already. So my conclusion is Rossmann 2x2, good fold. Okay, shake is doing exactly nothing. That's fine. Mutate moves the side chains around. Also, I think Mutate has a built-in shake. I'm not 100% sure of that, but we're going to wiggle. What's happening with the little helix? Still kind of wonky up at the top here, but it's not bowed as much as it was, I think. I think it's not. I wonder why this is wonky. Seems odd. Because it's got the same kind of loops at the top and bottom of it as all the other helixes. It's not like I used a weird loop here that I never use. But it doesn't usually do that to the helix. Oh, you know what? So I restarted the game and then I didn't put the coloring back to Hydra. That's part of why I'm having a little trouble seeing, yeah, if the hidden stuff is orange, because only the side chains were orange. How are we doing? We're up at 16 iterations already, but we're still moving. The score's still moving a little bit. So maybe on the next extra large monomer, we'll get several Rossmann 2x2 folds. That would be really cool. I really like to encourage different folds. There are a few folds that we see a lot of in at least in the pictures that people post in chat, which, you know, they beat me, so good for them. But I like to see a lot of different folds, so I'm always encouraging people to try new ones. Video proof, nice to have. It's over 9,000. Yeah, you didn't expect to hear that reference coming out of me because I'm an old non-gamer, but I have kids, so yeah, I learned that one pretty early. I know a few memes, like you could count them on 2 hands, but I do know a few. Okay, Greg, I'm glad you stopped by, and have a good evening. We'll see you another time. Okay, Sock, it's just you and me. That's enough wiggling. Oh, I forgot to turn off the filters during the wiggle. That's why it was slow. Okay, restore recent best. This is not the recent best. It's a lie. This is actually better. Yeah, there's kind of a bug in recent best. When you have extra residues added, it gets confused. It just doesn't always work right. It forgets to count the, something about the filter for the added residues. It doesn't get counted in the recent best. I'm not quite sure how it works. I think Loci has a feedback about it somewhere. Okay, what am I doing? I'm saving. And what was that? I forgot to save the other one. I wrote it down, but I didn't save it. Okay, this was mutate 0.85. I don't think I fixed anything. No fixing. Just wiggling. 0.5. Okay. So I'm going to put my notes. Yeah, I lied. I said I saved the other one, but I didn't. I just put it in the notes. No fixing. 0.5. And what did I get? 10,096. And that one I actually saved. Okay. I'm going to do a super low mutate. I think I decided I could turn off filters and then make a change in score and then undo it. Okay, that redlines the score. So I'm going to try recent best. Oh, maybe not, because again, I'm not going to do it after the mutate. Okay, I'm rambling. So on this super low clashing importance run of mutate, it will typically put lots of ring side chains in. And then later when I do the high clashing importance mutate, it'll take some of them out. But I really like after this mutate to look around for places where I can put in pi stacking, because that's just something I think is cool. Pi stacking is where you have 2 ring side chains close together, and they're either like face-to-face and parallel, or they can be parallel and offset, or they can be kind of perpendicular. And that's good for some extra points. And also stability in the protein. Like here's one that Foldit made. They're not quite parallel, but Wiggle will bring them somewhat more parallel. They don't have to be perfect. So sometimes Foldit puts them in, and then sometimes I find places to put them too. Here's, yeah, that might count as one. Those look like they could count. Those are like parallel and offset, like I said. Wikipedia, if you look at pi stacking protein, pi, not PIE, although they look like little pies. Wikipedia has a nice little picture of the different shapes of pi stacks that there can be. Foldit tells me what to look up, and then Wikipedia tells me what the heck it is. So I've learned a lot of my protein science from Wikipedia. Okay, I don't think mutate is actually faster with the filters off. It doesn't look faster to me. You going to bed? Okay. Is that a note for me? You want to just hand it to me? Thank you. I'm waiting for something to happen in the game. Yes, I will. Love you. Good night. Okay, that's enough mutating. Getting kind of impatient here. Okay, turn the filters back on. Well, I could leave them off because I'm going to shake and wiggle. Okay, so looking for pi stacks. You put one there. I don't know if it counts these guys. They're close together, but they're not stacked at all. I put this hopefully will be a stack. Do I see any places? So there's, what I really like is to have adjacent helixes stack. Let me try one here. So let me make that also phenylalanine. Can I get these guys? So what I'm doing is highlighting one segment and then using the arrow keys, left and right arrow, to try out different positions. Those are not stacked. They're not even like parallel and offset. They're just too far apart. Okay. So I'm going to highlight those two and just hit mutate and let it put them back to whatever it wants. Yeah, it likes what it had before. Okay. So is there another place? These two might work. No, not all of you, just two. So those are, okay, let me go back one. Those are perpendicular. That technically counts as a pi stack. But those are pretty close to parallel. I kind of like those. They're a little far apart, but Wiggle could fix that. I'm going to leave those in for now. And look at the other pair of helixes. So to get pi stacks on helixes, oh wow, these guys are really, really offset from each other. To get pi stacks on a pair of helixes like this, you have to have two side chains that are pretty, like if you think of this as vertical along the axis of the helix, you have to have two side chains that are pretty closely matched vertically. They can be both a little bit on the front side or a little bit on the back side, but they need to be pretty close vertically in order to form a pi stack. These guys, this guy's a little, okay, I'm not living in perpendicular space here. Here we go. So this guy's a little higher than this guy, but not a lot higher. That's why I thought they might work. These guys up here, like this guy's pointing too much away from that one, and this guy's too low. So up here is not a good place for a pi stack. Okay, what am I doing? Shaking and wiggling with maybe filters. What if I just turn all the filters off? I don't want to do that during the wiggle. I could do it during the shake. Let's try it. Okay, change the score to make a red line, undo the change, and shake. Okay, I'm sorry, I covered up the chat again because of my notes. The memes check out. Sock says, I'd like to try new folds, to be honest. Yeah, try it, go for it. But I get too lazy and the controls and such start to grind on me. Okay, I hear you. That's why I'm like low-key waiting on controls overhaul to really start making some wacky things. The trademark Susumi Pi Stack. Yeah, I like Pi Stacks. I like the signature folding features some of us have got going for us. Oh, like, yeah, like different players have certain things that are kind of their thing, their special thing. But the way R bonds is just so broken. R meaning arginine? The way R bonds is so broken. Tell me more. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Oh, I missed one of your things. I know I've used way too much arginine for my aflatoxin solutions. Oh, I see. Yeah, because you can get multiple hydrogen bonds off multiple bondable atoms of arginine. But you say it's broken. I assumed that it was scientifically accurate. I thought what I was seeing on screen was like really what it would do. Do you think it's not? Okay, that's plenty of shaking. Let's stop that. Okay, I'm going to turn off what? Residue count and not that one. That one. Okay. Turn off 2 of them. Usually I turn off 3, but I got dinged on this SS design, so I don't want to miss out on that. Okay, and let's hide the side chains and wait. Okay, wait. Don't hide them. What happened? These guys unstacked. Now, well, now they're perpendicular. They're like this, which is a valid pi stack. It's just not as cool looking. So what if I put that one back? Yeah, it's not doing what I want. Like it's not even closely doing what I want. Okay. So I think that's where it was before. Okay, wiggle. Nope. Turn off side chains. Yep. Wiggle. You have no opinion on the scientific accuracy. You're just really amused that it's long enough and has the right geometry for all sorts of good stuff. Agreed. Although it's got 3 bondable atoms on it, it's hard to get all 3 bonded. It's kind of easy to get 2 of them bonded. Hence why I say it's broken, since if you saw the same thing turn up in another game again and again, like arginine, you would think the balance team was sleeping on the job. Yeah, I'll buy that. It's OP. R is OP. So in the aflatoxin puzzles, we're trying to reach the aflatoxin with side chains. So long ones are good. And we're trying to make lots of hydrogen bonds. So something that bonds multiple times is good. So for the aflatoxin, arginine ends up getting used a lot. But in other puzzles, I don't notice that it's overpowered. Well, okay. Yeah, on the outsides of sheets, it's also kind of overpowered. It bonds with the glutamates. The glutamates have that reference bonus that makes us have so many of them on the outsides of our sheets. And then wherever there's a glutamate, an arginine can bond with it, and so they pop up a lot. Arginine doesn't have a reference bonus, not a big one anyway. But yeah, we end up with a lot of them on the outsides of our sheets. But BKEP says that's a good thing, so who am I to argue? Not that that ever stopped me before. Okay, filters are on, and so I'm making the confused face because my score is substantially lower. Maybe I should have done restore recent best before I turned the filters back on. I think that's what I should have done. What if I do it now? It doesn't go anywhere. Okay, well, after the 0.05 run of mutate, often the score is lower. Now this I don't like. I have a whole turn of helix with no orange in it. It's likely to be random loop in a real protein. So I want one of those to go back to orange. But I think, let's see, I'm supposed to save this 1457. This is track S4. This was mute 0.05. I think I added a pi stack and I wiggled at 0.5. So yeah, my opinions are mixed about arginine being overpowered. Okay, and then finally the high CI mutate run. And then I'll be ready for scripts. So I will end the stream. Oh dear. How long is this stream? I still don't know what time I started. Oh, it's 1:20, and I said earlier that it was 12:30, so I've been going like an hour and a half, I think. I think it maybe says that on my Twitch page somewhere. Yep, hour and 24. Hopefully the dev team is a bit more reactive and diligent with patches moving forward. A SOC can hope. Yeah, so, I mean, there's multiple graduate students in Cooper's lab that are at least doing some of their work on Foldit. So I think that's very promising. I think that might more than double the number of developers on the project. I'm not sure. I don't know how many people in Washington are working on it. Okay, so I'm supposed to be mutating. I kind of lose track of what I'm doing with the protein when I'm talking. Hour and 24, close enough, yep. So what happened over here? It kept the pi stack that it made right there. So far it has kept it. It took out the one that I made. Fair enough. I didn't like it. Didn't score well, I guess. But it'd be nice if, oh, okay, blah. Look, it put a histidine in here to be part of the stack. So now I have a hidden blue with 2 bondable atoms that aren't bonded to anything. That's just wrong. I will be fixing that. Here's a blue. Why is that one blue? So this one, the blue bondable atom is exposed to the water. The red one is hidden, so that's just bad. Let me see what that comes up as in the core. So the core says that that's a blue, which is a surface residue. That's why it put a blue there. But I'm telling you that it's hidden. These 2 helixes, by being so offset, are kind of leaving a hole right here. A little bit odd. Okay, my score's going back up. That's good. It's getting close to that 10,000 that I had before. Some of the changes that you'd ideally want, I feel like they'd need an entire game studio arm to implement. Yeah. Foldit's kind of small potatoes right now. And that studio arm would have to keep in close contact with the scientists too, so things wouldn't be bungled. Yeah. Can that be rotamered to fix the blue-red mismatch? Are you talking about the histidine or the, what is this one? Glutamine. So my problem is not that they're mismatched, it's that they're hidden. There's nothing in there to bond with them. I mean, this red guy could possibly bond with that blue guy, but there's nobody in there to bond with the red guy. So I'm not liking that. What about the one down here? Yeah, there's nobody in the interior to bond with that red. It's just hidden. I think it's hidden. Maybe it's, you know, maybe the surface. Oh, what's the one that you run? Okay, you use this view thing that I almost never use. Is it called isosurface? Where is that? Here. If I click this, will my game crash? No. Does it tell me what's exposed? So I see some red on the surface here, so maybe that means that water could get to that red atom. There's a different one, not isosurface, sphere. Yeah, so sphere says that the red one is kind of pretty well in there. Water molecules are really small. They can get into small places. So I don't know. glutamine, show isos. No, the blue-red is just charge shading. Acceptor, yeah, it's acceptor donator shading. That's why I call them bondables, because they can either accept or donate a hydrogen. Okay, enough mutating, and we're going to do a final shake and wiggle. I'm tired of messing with the filters. I'm just going to leave them on. Okay, I'm going to fix some things though. I don't want this here. I'm going to put a hydrophobic there. Might change back later. I'm actually going to make a note. What residue number is that? 110. Let me put that in my notes. So I fixed 110. And where's the histidine? Fix this one. Okay, my little script doesn't try the rings on there. Maybe that's what I really need to do, is just make it a phenylalanine. So which of those was better? Interesting. The methionine, prior to shaking and wiggling, scores better than the phenylalanine. I don't know why. Clashing maybe. But I'm going to put the phenylalanine in there. So when I run a script, I'm going to use Deep Remix Worst from Timo, but I have a modded version of it that I can mark certain side chains and say, don't make these blue. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to mark it to not be made blue. So that's residue number 60. That's why I'm writing down which ones they are, so I don't forget. So it just, it lets Foldit mutate all the ones around it, and then it manually, I mean, it's a script, so it's not completely manual, but it just manually tries different orange ones in that spot and keeps the best one as a separate step. Okay, is there anything else that I want to change? My loops look good. My edge strands look good. I've got this whole turn of helix with no orange, so I'm going to ask the core filter if one of those is better than the other to make orange. So neither one of them is orange in the core filter, so neither one of them is strictly in the core, but green is closer to being in the core than blue is. Green is borderline between core and surface. Blue is just surface, so I'm going to make this one orange. Because without there being an orange there, this part of the helix would be unlikely to form. It would just make a random loop. It's the attempt to hide the oranges that causes these structures, the sheets and helixes, to form. That's something I learned from BCAP, I'm pretty sure. We had a little conversation about it in the forum. Having said the whole spiel about the game studio changes, indie developers consisting of super small dev teams, sometimes literally individuals, can churn out some amazing stuff given time and resources. True. Minecraft is a living example. Minecraft Alpha and Beta. At least the recipe scene has the robustness of the modding culture. Yeah, it kind of does. It also has the cowboy aspect of the modding culture in that people make recipes and share them and like never put any comments to say what the things do. But yeah, there's some modding that goes on with the recipes. I should share mine, but it's not cleaned up, so. Okay, is that all I'm changing? I think that's all I'm changing. So what number was that? 13. So I want to protect that. My script is called Orange Guard because it guards the oranges. So I definitely want to guard that one. Okay, so how far did I get? I'm doing the manual fixes to the amino acids preparatory to shaking and wiggling. Just trying to keep my bearings here. shake. So for helixes, I like to have at least one orange in each turn. For sheets, I like to have at least 2 oranges in the sheet, and not just tyrosines. And then I like to get rid of blues that I consider to be hidden, even if Foldit says they're not. Like this one's clearly on the surface, even though it's kind of on the, you know, kind of inside. So that's fine. Okay, that's enough shaking. Another thing so I think I'm going to leave all these bands on for now during the remix script, and then I'm going to get rid of a lot of them when I go to full clashing importance and start my bander scripts. Let's see, save recent best and wiggle. I like to leave the bands on during the remix, or if I do run you can't do a rebuild script on a monomer design puzzle, but if you run a rebuild script, I like to leave the bands on because the rebuilds and the remixes can move things far away from where I want them to be, and the bands just help bring them back. It's just something I do. Probably nobody else does that. Yeah. So my stream dropped sometime near the beginning. So I'm going to end up with 2 separate videos, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of meaty information in the beginning. So I'm probably going to, I have a video editing program. I'm just not super motivated to use it on Twitch stream videos, but I may, when I move it over to YouTube, I may edit those pieces back together. So I'm at like 9,800. Oh, core existence, lost 0.75. That's why I'm not in the 10,000s anymore. My ideal loops are still good, but my core is not good. Well, that makes me sad. I wonder how that happened, because it was good before. So something about the mutating and wiggling caused more things to be exposed. Let me look at the core coloring. Oh, core, okay. Core filter thinks all these guys are semi-exposed. This guy, even though he's in the middle, core filter thinks he's semi-exposed. These guys, even though they're in the middle, core filter thinks they're semi-exposed. So that's why I don't have enough in the core. So do I want to add some bands? That's enough wiggling. Do I want to add some bands to try and correct that? I'm going to go with yes. So let me undo that wiggle. This helix is already banded, so it won't get deformed by having a band on it. I do want it to be a weak one. Okay, so that'll pull this guy down and towards the other one a bit. I don't really want to pull this one to the right because I want this guy to be hidden. I might, however, pull these together a bit. So I tend to kind of interfere with things like this, you know. I band things to make them go where I want instead of letting the score function decide where everything's going to go. Says this guy's semi-exposed. Not crazy about that. I don't know, Remix might fix that. Okay, so I undid my wiggle and I added some bands, and I'm going to redo the wiggle with a new recent best. See if this gets better. So minus 50, minus 25, it is getting better. See if I get my bonus back. This helix is not looking great for hiding. It says that guy's exposed. Why you fold it? Ah, it's back to minus 75. No fair. So this guy, I mean, I can kind of see how he's semi-exposed because there's like all this empty space right here. I bet if I turn on voids, I will be very sad. Let's find out. Oh, not so much. Okay, it's not bad over here. It's not terrible over here. So the problem is not voids. The problem is just really that things are kind of at the surface. Okay, get rid of those voids. I'm up to 9,900, but I still have minus 75 core. I do not like that. Sam, I am. And these guys didn't turn orange like I thought they would. Okay, that's enough of that. So my inclination is just go ahead and run the script and hope that it fixes the core problem. Especially because I'm tired and I want to go to bed. So what was this? This was, oh, I've forgotten. Must have been mutate 0.85. Did a bunch of fixing and wiggled at 0.5. $99.10. So it's not as good as my high. My high was 10,096. So this is almost 200 lower than that. So sad. So I saved this and I have minus 75 on my core. Okay, let's turn off the core filter, and the ones that I fixed were 110, so I'm going to freeze that. 60, freeze that. And what was the other one? 13. Where's 13? This one? 105. Bad guess. Oh, it was on the helix. This one? Yeah, okay. Okay, so I have marked the ones that I want to guard. Now that I'm like showing my script, I'm really going to have to clean it up and share it. Let's get rid of this. Okay, let me hide the side chains. I don't want to do remix on the entire protein. That would take too long. I'm just going to select the loops and some adjacent residues to run remix on. I'll let that run overnight. See if I get my core bonus back. So the reason I use freeze to mark the side chains is that I'm going to use select to tell the recipe which ones I want to actually work on. That's already built into the recipe. Export to YouTube, download the YouTube vids, then edit. Yeah, exactly. That's my plan. Okay. So I'm using control-click to add to the selection. This is the thing that causes the most swearing on my part, is when I accidentally click in the wrong place and I lose everything that's selected and have to start over. the day my first kid was big enough to parrot a curse word back to me, I stopped cursing, like completely. And then the day my youngest kid turned 13, I started again. Because you know what? He can control himself by that age. Okay, let's see, 3 on the helix. So if you hear me say crumbs instead of something juicier, that's a habit left over from when my kids were small. Because you just don't want them repeating those things when their grandparents are around, for example. Am I done selecting things yet? This is taking forever. Okay, now I'm done. So I selected every loop and some segments on each side. Where is the script? So it's Timo's Deep Remix, except I added the orange guard. Okay, max filter on these puzzles is 700. I can't get that much because I have added the segments, but that's okay. I want to do length 6 to 7. By doing long length here, in theory, it makes it possible for Remix to find more poses than if I did shorter lengths. I've never tested that, but I think that's how it's supposed to work. Okay, I want to select slots, select where to work on, do not change all to loop. Work only on selected, that's where the selection comes in. And that's because I checked select where to work on. Okay, I don't want loc total, I don't want clashing, and I don't want sidechain. Mutate after remix, that makes it super slow. Don't mutate at these other times. I bump clear gain way up high. In fact, I made it so the slider would go up higher. So what clear gain does, I love this setting. It says don't redo any areas unless you have gained at least this many points. And so by setting it to an arbitrarily high number, like 10,000, what I'm saying is don't redo any areas until you have done the whole protein, or at least all the areas I told you to do. So when it's low, I don't remember what it was by default, but when it's low, if it finds a big gain, it'll start over on those same worst areas. But if it's high, it won't redo anything until it's done them all, which is my preference. So that's why I use it. Okay, I want to do up to 30 remixes per area and skip the fuse. So mutate after remix makes it slow. Skipping the fuse makes it much faster. So that's kind of a compromise. Okay, and okay. All right, I'm going to let that run overnight. When I wake up, it's going to be amazing, right? Okay, let me make a note that that's what I did. And the ones I guarded were the same ones I changed before, 110, 60, and 13. And I'm running at CI.5. All right. I'm going to say that's enough for one stream. How far did I go? An hour and 48. That's a lot. So, you know, hopefully some people decided, oh, I've seen how she put that together. I don't need to watch the rest of this. Because it's really that first part that shows you how to put the Rossmann 2x2 together, which is what the goal was. Yeah, by the time they're teenagers, they know what appropriate company for cursing is and isn't, like not at grandmommy's house. Boy, do you wish those kinds of things were included in the recipe documentation. Yeah, like when there's 150 different things that you can set before you run the recipe, it's nice to know what they are. Makes you miss old video game instruction manuals. I'm glad you stopped by. It's nice having you here. I hope the video is helpful to some people. Hopeful? Helpful. See, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night. So thanks for stopping by. This is Susumi signing off from the Foldit stream. It always takes me a minute to figure out how to do that. Okay, bye-bye.